Okay, please proceed.
We will save you. This is my project. I have 3 fine finalists with me who I'm sure will be adding to the topic at hand. The first one is Betsy Cromwell. And as we all know, Betsy adores animal. She has been to Tanzania and has demonstrated by all the photos that she brought back that she absolutely adores animal. Isaac is a man of the world, and I know he cares about our universe, and that's his qualification. And Josephine, we all know how she got her little doggy, and therefore I think she is also somebody who really loves animal. To begin with, I will just show a little clip here that will kind of explain what the project is all about. I will do a screen share. And here we go. Listen carefully. The Tigers, the Panthers, the Penguins, the Orioles, the Falcons, they'll be gone. I believe that sports fans truly care about their animal mascots.
Can't hear it.
They wouldn't have named their team an animal mascot if they didn't care. You can't hear it? The Penguins, the Orioles, the Falcons, they'll be gone. I believe that sports fans truly care about their animal mascots. They wouldn't have named their team an animal mascot if they didn't care for animals. Somehow we have to get the teams and the fans to help their mascots survive in the wilderness so that we can adore them and scream their animal names at games. We'll be here in 100 years. That's me working on the project. That's my cat helping me. The premise of this project is rather simple. We have a lot of sports teams named after animals. Many sports teams named after all kinds of animals. The Penguins, the Seahawks, the Sharks, the Dolphins, the Eagles. I don't need to name them all. These teams have a lot of money. Many of those animals are endangered, and even the non-endangered ones might need some help. I believe that we should get the teams to help their animals survive through sanctuaries, education, awareness, and it won't cost them that much money to do it, and it'll be fantastic for their public relations, and it will interconnect our world between the sports world and the environmental world. In 2017, the revenues alone in the United States of sports team were $74 billion. True, really, I mean, what's $1 billion for them to just help their mascots survive so they can win what? The game of life, the game of Earth. I mean, that's the game we want to win here, guys. All right. This idea occurred to me when I had gone to the Blue Peninsula Bird Observatory, and they had done a lot of work at their AGM to try to raise some money. Oh, they had big cookies, they had tombolas, they had auctions, all kinds of things, and they had worked so hard. You know how much money they raised? $10,000. That's nothing. That's nothing. The Blue Jays could have donated to the Blue Peninsula Bird Observatory a lot more. The Blue Jays could actually donate to the Appalachian Trail where there are Blue Jays, or the Bruce Trail where there are Blue Jays, and it will be great for their public relations. I had also seen some kids when I went into the city schools, because I'm a supply teacher, and they were completely dressed out in full Blue Jay outfit, and they knew nothing about Blue Jays. They didn't know how many eggs they lay, or if they go south, nothing. But they were yelling, Blue Jay, Blue Jay, which actually shows how disconnected our sports world and city world is to our environmental world. Well, my project is to connect those worlds. How am I going to do it? I'm thinking we can maybe change the social norm, and it will become, perhaps in the future, very normal that sports team will just donate a little bit of their money to help their mascot, their animal mascot, survive. And that's what I'm going to try to do, change this normal Norm, I'm going to do this first through social media. I was thinking of creating sports cheers based on animal songs, sound, behavior, um, something about the animal. For example, if you have a team that's named after owls, you could do woo, woo, woo. Like the Collingwood High School where I go, that's their mascot, an owl. So they could go whoo, 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 calling woo, 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 yay, go. And that connects the environmental classes with the phys ed classes, actually. Okay, and I also did crazy little drawings like this, the Blue Jays, and I put them on TikTok with a little music. All right, I did that. And I also had little pictures of a little blue jay bird talking to mom and saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy, will the Blue Jays and Earth survive?" Okay, so that all went on the internet. I'm learning how to draw animals. Can you see this? How to draw animals? To do more of these silly things, but don't be fooled. These silly things can have a lot of power. All right, I also did little stories. I did stories. As you see, I have a little bit of props here, to do my little skits. All right. And yes, I did some postcards. And also, yes, my little props here can also be used to create a super mascot soccer league. And it will be made of all animal mascots, and they will be playing not only soccer, but they will also be doing kind of like a Superman thing. They'll be saving the world and doing environmental things. Okay. All right. I was also thinking of doing something very silly. It was called Meet Your Mascot. Meet Your Mascot. We would be interviewing fans on their way to a team and making it really funny and saying, "Okay, well, what do you know about your mascot?" We'd be following them. And of course, they would know nothing about their animal mascot, but they'd be, fully decked out in the outfits and all that. We could actually take the fans or hopefully some of the players right to the wilderness. Meet your mascot right in the wilderness and teach them, okay, well, this is a Blue Jay. That's the Blue Jay song. See? Yeah. And actually educate them like that. And also kind of make it fun and silly, to engage people more. All right. And I could actually also expand on that little video that you just saw there and put a lot more information, not just a 1 minute thing, but make it maybe half an hour and really expand on the idea that I was trying to sell in that video. Okay. That's what I've done. I would call it, to try to change the norms. I did, by the way, try to write to a lot of teams here. All the teams you see that have they're named after mascots. I actually wrote to Japan, but the letter came back. All right. I was just trying to contact the teams directly. That did not work, really. It's just too hard to reach them directly. I think that maybe going through the social media thing is going to work a little bit better. I also wrote to a lot of environmental groups. Now, I had more success with the environmental groups. I received positive responses from the American Ornithological Society and other wilderness groups. I also spoke, for example, to hikers on the Bruce Trail, and I did suggest to them that they should get funding for the Bruce Trail by contacting the Toronto Blue Jays. They thought it was a good idea, yeah, but they didn't. Everybody said, yeah, great idea, and that's as far as it went. Didn't go any further than that, but at least a seed was planted. And so now we get to our panel discussion. I would like to ask some of my panelists a few questions. Is this an idea that you think whose time has come? How would you even begin to do this? Because I think that if we can get this going, there's a lot of money, $74 billion in America alone in revenue in 2017. That's a lot of money. I'm not, a little trickle of it might have gone to some of the animal mascots, but I haven't heard of a lot of it going to animal mascots. And one day these teams will all be playing. Great, they'll be playing. But you know what? Their mascots will be dead in the environment. Therefore, please, let me see. Let me begin with Betsy. Betsy. And anybody can speak up who wants to speak up. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are it's a great idea, but, and I think you need to go at it in a very enlightened way. The reality is that sports teams are big business. They're capitalist organizations. They talk a lot about team loyalty and sportsmanship, but the reason you have sports teams, especially the big league ones, is to make money. And, as you said, they make tons and tons of money. And capitalism can be really cold-blooded. So on the other, but I don't want to be totally negative. On the other side of it, I was thinking about Colin Kaepernick, the football player. Was he a football player
Yes.
who took a knee in recognition of all of the Black people who had been killed or harmed by police officers? And he really suffered for that. He lost his job. He was blackballed. But I've noticed since then that sports teams have been focusing a lot more on their, charitable things. And I don't watch professional sports, but my husband does. So I've noticed this walking back and forth through the room while the TV's on. But I've noticed they've been talking a lot more about their charitable endeavors. So maybe this is a really good time to come up with something like this. But I think you need to think of it in terms of dollars and cents, because the people you're trying to convince, that's what their brains are made of. That's what they hear.
Yeah. And if there was some kind of way you could let them realize this will bring you money. If you go for this project, it'll bring you people that would never think about watching football, but they know that you are into saving the environment, saving the animals. And I think the idea that you went on Twitter and Facebook, that gets a lot of people's attention. So I don't know if there was some kind of way you could make an advertisement for this, or get some big advertiser to go get in behind it, like a Coke or a McDonald's or those type of organizations. If you could get their attention, but the thing is, you got to make it so they can see profit in it. They'll see a benefit in it for them. That's the only way, it seems, to really entice people to do things. What's in it for me? And that's the hard part too. Well, I won't say hard part, but I think the way you're going about it now is just getting different ideas to help you kind of figure out a plan that would even, add to the one that you're already doing, because I think you got a lot of stuff going.
Yes. Josephine, you who rescued your little dog because he followed you home, so therefore who loves animal, do you have anything you would like to add?
Well, thank you very much, Celine. Yes, I do. Slight correction of history. He didn't follow me home. I chased him on the street at about 10:30 one Saturday evening, and managed to catch him. And I think the only reason I was actually able to catch him was because he was tired, cold, and hungry. And he stopped for a toilet break as well. So I chased him, to be fair to my little man. And what Betsy and Isaac have said has been very enlightening. And thank you very much for taking on such an enlightening project as well, because I think the timing might be quite an interesting one, given what's been happening with COVID and regrettably what's been happening with the Ukraine. I glimpsed a report just a few days ago about how the zoo in Kiev was starting to be affected because of the bombing. And so I would definitely support the idea that any sports club or any club, not just sports, that if they're going to be using an animal name, which is perhaps part of the reason why they go to attract their followers, then please make a donation to a sanctuary, or to some sort of rescue operation, because I have not seen anything about the rescue operations for the Ukraine, but that's going to be another catastrophe. And I remember years ago that in Vienna, they had tremendous flooding and the animals drowned. So therefore, I think that that's certainly a great idea in the first instance. Also, we do get a lot of mileage out of our animals. The audience, oh, look how cute. Oh, I wish I could take him home or her home. Or they might have a person dressed as the animal. And coming back to my time with the London 2012 Olympics, one of the Her Majesty's regiments had a mountain goat as their mascot. And he was there in his green sort of vest with the coat of arms from the, this was the regiment. And yes, got a lot of attention from the people. And it was quite enlightening to see the, how people were responding, because normally you see maybe a goat, or even tiger, leopard, lion, but a mountain goat. So of course, there's a little story there as to why they selected the mountain goat. And some cities, they have city taxes. If I'm not mistaken, there's one in Italy for the Leaning Tower of Pisa to help, because that's going to cost us a lot of money to help prop it up and repair it architecturally. And therefore, visitors to the city have to pay a visitor's tax. It might be something like, €1 or the equivalent of $1 US. However, that's an automatic tax that is supposed to go towards the restoration fund for the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Then I believe there's also something similar in France, that there's a city tax again to help, with the different monuments and stuff like this, tourist attractions. And so therefore, yes, I think why not in terms of adding to the animal kingdom.
Oh,
and especially with, as we have, with COVID, and people are perhaps hopefully being a bit more humanistic in their thoughts.
Thank you,
So
Josephine.
thank you for that very enlightening project.
Well, thank you, Josephine. And so you're saying the time is right. This is the time. There's because a lot of things are happening that have harmed the animal. We're more aware of the harm to the animal at this particular time, and we should act on. Now is the time. That's what you're saying. And if I'm correct, Isaac, you're kind of saying, try to sell it to them as to what's in it for me. In other words, probably what I was thinking too, that it's good for their public relations. It will be good for their public relations, especially because a lot of these environmental groups don't get a lot of donations. They get their little $25 and $30, but oh my goodness. And again, Betsy also emphasized the point that it's kind of where the money is. It's all about the money eventually. But I think that because environmental groups get so little money to begin with, usually, that anything they get from a sports team, which will probably be a lot more than what they get from their members, will have a great positive impact on the on this project. And also, I think, Isaac, if I'm right, you also said that if they do begin to emphasize this cause, they will bring in people to see the game that usually would not have gone to see games. Like they'll bring in.
Well, like I won't say baby boomers, but it seems like the younger generation are more into the saving the planet and, those type of things. And that would, I think, get them more excited of going to a game if they knew that the sports team that they're following also cares about wildlife. And I think too, it's just getting them enlightened about it, because I'm sure a lot of people don't even give a second thought about the mascots and the animals in general. And so I think that would be one way to really tackle it, is just to go after
So,
The-
okay. Okay, so you think they would expand their fan base, kind of, and give more
yes.
people? I agree with you. For example, if one were to sell, and I'll give you an example, a Toronto Blue Jay cap, and they usually sell for $43 Canadian. That's the most popular model. Well, if there was a little tiny note in there that $1 out of those 43 goes to um, making sure that the locations where there are Blue Jays, they are protected. That might, you're completely right. It would actually maybe give them more fans. It would make them look good to the fans they have now, and also maybe increase their fans, especially among the young people. Which brings me, I don't know, does anybody else have some questions they may want to ask? Because I had a few.
I had another comment.
Yes.
Another thing to think about is the minor league teams. I don't know what they have in Toronto, but in Portland, Maine, we have the Portland Sea Dogs. They really couldn't start a fund to support sea dogs because it's an imaginary creature. But I know the minor league teams are a lot more creative. They're a lot more focused on having fun at the games. And I think they might be a little more open to the idea of supporting environmental causes and a little more responsive to individual fans. So that's approaching this whole thing, that might be another way. And I know the Portland Sea Dogs are affiliated with the Red Sox, and that just might be a way in.
Ah, you mean come in through the back door?
Yeah,
And eventually going to the big team, but having a few of the minor teams kind of begin this as a little project that they do.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
that's
kind of a
true.
local thing.
And speaking, by the way, of your imaginary mascot, somebody was saying, well, what about the Raptors? What about the Raptors? They don't, well, they don't exist anymore. Well, the Raptors could actually do a museum for the Raptors, what
Uh-huh.
were the Raptors, and also Raptors, by the way, is a kind of a bird. But I have heard that as well, that some of these mascots are kind of imaginary. But we'll just focus. There's enough real ones that I think we can focus on the real ones. Um, well, anybody else has a comment or a question? Thank you, Betsy, for your point, and I'm glad we're recording this because I will want to remember what everybody has suggested. I'm just kind of wondering, would you try to go after the fans or the teams, or would you target the environmental groups to kind of do the push? Um, what,
Well,
what's your target group here? Who are your stakeholders? Eventually, I mean,
I would say the fans, because they're the ones who pay for everything to happen. So going after the fans would be, I think, one of the things that you would want to do. But something back to what Betsy said, as far as starting, I won't say small, but if you did something like that, it would be easier to like maybe get the local hockey team or high school team, get them involved with it. And it seems like big companies pay attention to small things when they see it gaining momentum, and so like maybe having, I won't say like a high school team, but go after the small things also. But I mean, you want to start at the top and go down, but sometimes starting at the bottom and going up can work as well. So that's one thought that I had.
that is true. That is true. I mean, I have gotten a lot of wonderful responses from the environmental group. Oh, this is so great, so great. Yes, it's fantastic. Um, the Cornell Bird Observatory and group, uh, all these groups out there. But that's as far as it went. It's wonderful. It's great. But then they didn't pursue the idea. And I thought,
Mm.
guys, that's where the money is. Why aren't you pushing it a little bit more? But I think you're right. If we can get the fans to maybe actually sing and act like their animal, and then they'll begin to think about their animal. That's where the animal cheers came in. They would actually learn the song that the Orioles do. Okay, they'll or they'll fly or something like the Seahawks, something, so that they begin to really connect with their animals. So you say go with the fans. What about you, Josephine? Where would you, and Betsy, what are your thoughts? Both.
Yes, I do agree with the fans because the fans are the ones paying the money. And I also like the idea, was it, I don't remember whether it's Betsy or Isaac. I do like the idea of targeting the youth. And one of the reasons why I like that idea is because I don't know if you have the scouts. That's probably more of a British thing, but you may have something like the scouts in the US, and the young boys, they're in a club called the Beavers. Okay, so it goes from Beavers to Cub Scouts, I think, and then Scouts, something like this. But I think you can get approach maybe an international organization of youth like that. That could be happy to get interesting leverage, because from what I have seen with young people, when they get an idea in their head and they buy into it, they will talk to the parents, they will talk to the family, the grandparents, everyone. They'll go up to the strangers in the street. Are you supporting the Cubs? Are you donating? Don't go to this particular sports match because they're not supporting their mascot. And so therefore, I certainly do like the idea of trying to get the young people involved. And especially if it's like, as they say, start at the local level. Social media is very powerful as well. But however, try and start with your local and build out from there. So if you start with a local international group, and then also, of course, you've got the retirees as well, who may be quite interested in having a cause as well. And the more the merrier. So therefore, grandparents will say to their children, okay, unless I see your ticket for where you're donating some money to your mascot, then no, you can't come for lunch. So therefore, that could be quite an interesting angle to take.
Thank you, Josephine. That's an interesting point, and you are right. I think maybe you are right. The young people, once they get an idea in their head, that's it. You can't get it out of their head. So let's just plant some good ideas in those heads. And I think you're right. If I remember correctly, I think the Scouts have a beaver badge or something. That's what you were talking about, right? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, that is correct.
That's right. So yes, very, very interesting point. Betsy, did you have any comments?
I think I would agree that I think working on a local level is probably going to be the most effective. And if you want to get the attention of like a major league team, I think starting at the local level and getting some momentum going is probably the way to go.
Okay. All right. I will agree with you that this is a very good way to do it. I'm still thinking, though, that, well, I don't have a lot of time left in life. So I kind of also would like to go with the social media, because that is big. I could be talking to the members of the Bruce Trail another 1 year and nothing really gets going. But I would like to get something out on the social media. So let's just assume now that we're going to take that route as well in parallel. Which of the social medias would you guys, do you have kids that do anything? Oh, okay. I see Isaac's mouse is getting.
Yeah. No, I just had a thought. Another way is if you could get a celebrity behind it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of celebrities are into their dogs, their cats. And, if you could get a celebrity behind it, that would generate a lot of action, I believe, also. And I'm sure there's a lot of them out there who would fight for the rights of dogs and cats and any kind of animal. So that's just a thought that actually ran across, because like I said, a lot of celebrities love their pets.
Yes, yes. And I'm sure that a lot of sports players actually probably
Hmm.
have some pets. Some of them might even have birds at home, parakeets, or I don't know, something like
Yeah.
that. Oh, but how do you find that out? I guess you've got to go to their fan club, right? So maybe
Uh,
celebrity, the sports player fan club, you kind of wiggle your way in there, or what?
yeah, that's a good question. But they all have their own little pages on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and you could probably at least get to them that way. Put your goal down, what you're trying to do, and I'm sure someone might be interested and call you back, or uh, messenger you back.
Okay, I guess we could not call them directly and put a message right on YouTube and somehow mention their name. I don't think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking in a comment, because a lot of them read their comments,
Okay.
but I'm not the person to really be internet savvy, with the Facebook and the Instagram and all those.
Okay. All right. Does anybody, Betsy, did you freeze?
Oh,
I thought Betsy froze. No, no, she's back. Any other comments, guys? Because this is really a project that is very close to my heart. Because I think if I can dislodge a little chunk of that $74 billion, just a billion. I just want a billion. Okay, that's all I want to go to help the environment. Because really, when you think about it, this is winning the game of life. It would, I mean, if you can kind of sell it to the teams that, okay, so you won the game, guys, but you know what? The Orioles, from what I heard, at least the ones that are in the States, they're going to be gone by 2080. There's not going to be any more Orioles. And okay, Baltimore Orioles, you won the game, bravo, but your mascot is gone. So what did you win? This is therefore a project that is very close to my heart. If you have any other,
Elaine,
yes,
we will
that's it.
save you.
We
Makes me
will,
think
we
we
will
will
save
rock
you.
you, right?
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly why. I
And
mean,
so therefore, I was
yeah,
thinking, how about trying to reach out to someone or one of the former band members of Queen? You never know. And say to them, if you
yes,
love their
my
song,
friend was saying
I
that.
love
Yeah,
their song,
yeah,
and see if they will perhaps help, use that, or even let you use that song as a
yes.
rally call to
My
say,
friend
we
was
will, we
telling me
will save
that.
you.
My friend
Yeah,
was
so
telling
as
me
a
that
thought,
we should contact
mhm,
Queen, and I said, "Oh gosh, this is going to be so hard. I'm going to bother. I'm just going to go out there and say, we will save you, save you." Okay, and there was
sometimes
another
people
song
say,
too. I don't know if you guys know the song "In the Year 2525."
Hmm.
Man is still alive. I actually had words for it. I don't know if I read those to you, but I had words for that too. In the year 2525, if sports teams are still alive, if players can survive, they may find no mascot. No mascot. Okay, all right. You're right. I don't know. So you think that we should actually go maybe and try to get the people who have written these songs that we will write new words for to maybe endorse the yeah, that's a thought.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised how a lot of them would give you the rights to do that. Especially if they really believed in your project.
Right.
It's not as hard as a lot of people think to get the
Yeah,
rights to.
maybe you're
Uh,
right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was gonna
yeah,
say
yeah, no, that's
so
all I'm saying.
enthusiastic about my project. I'm so enthusiastic that I talk a lot. But you're right. I mean, I just kind of was thinking, oh, this is going to be too complicated. Let me ask you another question. Have you heard anything similar to this ever? Or is this the first time this little idea has been planted in your head?
I haven't heard anything about anyone trying to fight for the mascots of the teams. I think it's a brilliant idea. And I really think a lot of people would get behind it if they knew about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I had never heard of it before. I mean, I came up with it, you know, by talking to the kids dressed in Blue Jay outfits who knew nothing about the Blue Jays. And that's, yeah, I have not really heard anything like this ever on the internet. Okay.
Also, in terms of social media, from my experience with my own project, that Twitter is fun. It is short, it's to the point. You can like people, like, for example, Facebook. However, I think one of the key differences with Facebook and Twitter is that you get a message on alert when someone has followed you. However, I'm not so sure you get that. Actually, no, you do get, do you? Actually, yes, lately now you'll be getting a message that someone follows you on Facebook. But it's just such short, sharp messages. And then you can tag various famous people in your tweet. And guess what? Tweet is a bird, a blue bird. I don't know if it's a blue jay, but it is a blue bird. So therefore, you can see if the band members from Queen are on Twitter. You can tag various, the @ various environmental groups, and you can just tag so many people on Twitter. And just a short message. You can even include your videos on Twitter. And I think that's a snappier way now than Facebook. But then, of course, Facebook has quite a following too. And then, of course, you've got TikTok and Instagram. So, and of course, to YouTube. So, whichever mechanism you use, it's going to be enlightening. And I think there's software or there might be mechanisms where you can post almost simultaneously. So you don't have to go into each social media platform in order to post. So therefore, speak to some more young people, perhaps even see if you can get some volunteers from the youth, because it's to reach out to different prospective interest groups and develop it from there further. But yes, and also see if your local supermarkets, if they might be willing to put a poster or two and say, if you want more information, follow us on Facebook, check us out on YouTube, follow us on Twitter. And they might even just do it right there and then before they leave the supermarket.
I probably will have to learn how to tag. I'm still learning a little bit. Yeah, well, thank you, Josephine. That's a good idea.
Put the @ signs, find out what their handle is, what their name is. Because, for example, my name Josephine.
Yeah,
Twitter might shorten it to
Thank
just JOPH. So it's just to figure out that handle and then from there.
It's on my to-do to learn a lot more of this about Twitter and all that. Anyways, I think that we're still in the yellow zone, and before we get to the red, which I'm not quite sure when it will happen.
About 3 minutes from now.
About 3 minutes. Does anybody have any final comments on this before we close? And if anybody can help me, that would also be fantastic. At least tell the idea to a lot of other people. Anybody would like to make some final comments as my supporters? I gather you are my supporters on this idea.
I think it's a great idea. And it's like, Isaac needs to do something, and because, starting one person at a time makes a difference. And, you bringing this to light has, because I never thought about mascots or the animals. So I don't know what I could do as far as a lot, but I think every little bit helps.
Yeah, thank you.
Our local Society for the Protection Against Cruelty to Animals, someone there, or it might be one of the parents, went into one of the youth junior schools, for those under 11. And then they've been doing photographs of the same students wanting to give donations of food, dog chow, cat litter, cleaning towels, bleach cleaning ingredients for the local, animal protection society. And so therefore, it just occurred to me as well, because I was trying to remember where I saw photographs of kids and animals. And so therefore it could be something that you could also try and tie in with any teachers you know, or maybe get in touch with some teachers to say, hey, would you be interested to do this as a project with your students as well? Just to get them to consider it more and bring more awareness. But it's certainly been a very enlightening panel discussion, Celine. It's a very enlightening project. And I thank all the panelists as well for such an enlightening discussion.
Betsy, any comments?
I could just repeat what's already been said. I really had not thought of this that seriously either. I like your idea about social media, although, it's like, don't ask me about it because it's quite the learning curve for me. But yeah, I wish you well. I hope this goes really well because I think it is a good idea. Can't wait to see what happens.
Well, thank you very much.
If I may, one more thought, just to reinforce us. I think I might have mentioned, one more thought for the next minute, that senior citizens' homes, they might be looking for something to do. And so therefore, they might be willing to help you write letters, stuff envelopes, stick stamps on envelopes, and of course, maybe even donate, some money towards it because they want something to keep them busy, especially in this time where interaction with their family may be limited.
Okay. Well, thank you for even more ideas, Josephine. And I will also thank you all for having been my panelists. The final thought that I will leave you with is there's now a concept called nature deficit. And the concept is actually that we live in a world where we're completely separated from nature. And there's the city world and the people who live in the country. And then somehow we're not connected. And in order to break that nature deficit, which is a brand new concept, by the way, we really do need to interconnect our world a little bit better. And I'm just hoping to link the sports world with the environmental world. Thank you, everybody, for having been my panelists. And thank you for allowing yourself to be recorded. Thank you very much.
Thank you.